can hear the game live on 10:10 a.m., followed by Saturday's game at 1 and Sunday's game at 12. It's 84 degrees at 12 o'clock. Time and temp brought to you by Bueller Air and Plumbing. Stay cooler with Bueller.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Now, get ready to spend the next 2 hours with our three sports-loving ladies. Mia O'Brien, Lauren Brooks, and Taylor Dahl.
This is Helmets and Heels
on 1010XL.
Show me what you got, pretty lady.
Well, ladies, we have made it to a fabulous Friday, a feel-good Friday. And also, we didn't mention this on the show this week, 18 years of 1010XL. Such an amazing accomplishment for this place.
It is. And I think that our boss, Steve, he mentioned it yesterday because he sent out the email the day before saying, 18 years of 1010XL. And I remember when we had I believe it was the 15-year party here, which was a blast. But even between that time and now, I was like, it's already been 3 years since that party, and it's crazy because I also go back, and this summer will be 10 years for me at 1010, and when I started interning, and time flies. I'm like, when did I get old enough to work somewhere for a decade?
Seriously. Yeah, I started at least part-time back in 2012, and we were in a different building. We had a different show lineup, and then in 2014 is when the Jaguars came to be the 1010XL partner, and that's when Steve created Jaguars Today, and obviously Mike and Tony have been doing that ever since. I was the first producer of that show, and it's amazing how much we've changed since then, certainly. But we keep the main thing around here, and that's talking Jaguars, college football, a little golf sprinkled in, a little, obviously, college basketball a ton. But it's so much fun to work with people that also love sports as much as we do. We walk around the halls and everybody's talking about sports.
Yeah, or making fun of your sports team if they don't agree with what that is.
That is a very, very astute statement, Taylor. That is true. My nerves, by the way, I am on high edge alert today. I've got gymnastics tonight at 8 o'clock, and then I've got the college basketball tomorrow night, and I can't breathe. So if I faint, you guys are going to have to carry me through.
That's why I said the Cruffins are in the kitchen.
The Cruffins. By the way, if you've never had a Cruffin,
I had a near similar incident earlier this week. No one just realized. So make sure you have a little bit of carbs, a little bit of sugar, even if we're trying to eat healthy, because with the tensions rising ahead of tomorrow's Final Four. Just make sure you're eating, folks. Make sure you stop, you breathe, you drink water, and also eat.
Tonight is the NCAA regionals for gymnastics. Like, it's a big deal
for you.
Yes,
it's a big.
It's a big game. It's a big meet tonight.
It is funny because when you go back, and you obviously want your teams to be competitive and win and be in the championships, but it's so stressful. And I was thinking about that during, obviously, Notre Dame's national championship run this year. I was like, it's fun, but it honestly, I might pass away. It's so my heart can't handle some of the stress that comes in those moments, and then you look back and you're like, okay, that was a cool experience, or that sucked, or whatever it may be, but you forget when your teams aren't in those moments a lot how it feels in those high leverage situations.
Right. It's been a while for the Jaguars, for sure. I've always wondered if they were to hook us up to blood pressure machines during games, especially obviously like this past Saturday with Florida Texas Tech down, for most of that second half, and then the comeback. Like, if they were to take our blood pressure in those moments, would they advise us to take
are you okay? You guys need a break.
Blood pressure medication? Absolutely. All right, so last night I did a call-in with a radio station in Las Vegas, the Raider Nation radio station, and Mia, I know you've done one recently as well. So they, of course, just like how we do the media mock draft, but they do it each day leading up to the draft instead of combined or compressed, I should say. And so we chatted for about 20 minutes, all things Jaguars, everything going on here, and then, of course, made the pick as well. So I'll tell you who was off the board, and then I'll let y'all pick who you would have selected, and then I'll tell you who I did. Cam Ward goes number 1, Travis Hunter goes number 2, Abdul Carter goes number 3, and Will Campbell goes number 4. So quarterback 1, obviously, to the Titans, Travis Hunter 2 to the Browns, Abdul Carter 3 to the Giants, and Will Campbell 4 to the Patriots. Taylor, you would have selected?
I mean, I guess the conversation's been Mason Graham, so I probably still would have went that route because that's the conversation. But I don't know. I'll say that. That's probably what I would have.
Tackle Mason Graham.
Didn't you tell us yesterday you were picking Ashton Genty, I thought?
Yes, but I didn't say that on air.
Yeah, you did.
I don't remember if
Oh,
it
I thought that was on, I thought that was on air. Oh, I thought that was on air. Sorry. That's why I'm like, I don't want to bury the lead here, but I thought we said this yesterday.
Yeah, you would have taken, or you did take Mason Graham in the mock draft that you did. Yeah, I did go Ashton Genty, and then I gave, obviously the Raiders fans, they already hate me, and so now they hate me even more if that were to really be the pick, because the Raiders have zeroed in on Ashton Genty. Their former GM, Mike Mayock, says it's a great fit for Pete Carroll's team. The reason I do wonder, and
Did
I'm
they
not
yell
predicting,
at you? Were they like, no?
I did have a few people on Twitter get really mad, yes. But they also said that they can't wait to meet us if we go back to Vegas for this season. I explained, though, like, Trevor Lawrence's best season in 2022, the run game was killing it, right? Travis Etienne averaged over 5.1 yards per carry. Trevor, in the down and distances, it was more manageable. He was more confident. And I do think that having, Mia keeps referencing Wing T because Liam Cohen keeps mentioning it. If you're able to run the ball efficiently and effectively, and what did Trevor Lawrence say at his postseason press conference? We have not been able to run the ball effectively and efficiently. I wonder if they believe they've done enough for the offensive line, or they'll be able to get a player deeper in the draft there. And they think, let's run the freaking football. And we can do that by getting a guy with great vision, great speed. He's going to keep his feet moving, not get tackled. Like, Ashton Genty might be the key to unlocking what Liam Cohen wants to do on this offense. And we saw what the Bucs did. And granted, Bucky Irving was drafted in the 4th round. I get that. But also Mason Graham, his comps for some people are more of the guys the Rams got later in the draft.
The Bucs also drafted Graham Barton, center, with their 1st round pick. They drafted Cody Mock in the 3rd round the year previous to that.
Taylor loves Cody Mock.
I can go on down the line. I ask you this, does drafting a running back solve those running issues, the running game issues?
And that's what,
because I don't think it does.
That's what they're evaluating right now. How much was
they added on the offensive line?
Yeah, and I think that that's what they have to evaluate now is how much was it on the scheme, how much was it on the running backs, how much was it on the offensive line. And you mentioned yesterday the run blocking being very bad. And so I do think it's a combination of all of it. That's the answer. But which one weighs in more? And the thing for me when it comes to that is because, the Bucky Irving conversation of getting him later, and this year's running back class is even way better than that. So if they're looking at, okay, well, we got Bucky in the 4th last year, and this running back class is deeper and a little more top heavy, where guys you could get in the first 3 rounds that would start immediately. I think that's a lot of people's argument, is more so you can still get a really good running back in round 2, 3, no problem. But it's really hard to pass up on what Ashton Genty is and who Ashton Genty is. And when you talk about his missed tackles and his yards after contact, and even what he can do in the receiving game, people don't even talk about that enough, honestly.
He's good in pass pro. They said, like, the breakdown. So Daniel Jeremiah, by the way, has him 3rd on his big board behind Abdul Carter and Travis Hunter. He said he's not great as far as catching the ball. I don't know how much he was asked to do that at Boise State either. But we don't need that here. We need a running back that's really good in pass protection, sure. But you've got Travis Etienne to catch the ball out of the backfield, and that's something that he certainly excelled at in his time at Clemson with Trevor Lawrence. I'm banging the Genty drum.
910 is angry. I don't know if this is at me. I just replied. This is on the text line. Does not delay time and closures. 904-641-1010. Or if it's mad at Taylor or Lauren. I don't know who's this mad at, but respectfully, you can't say I get that about Bucky Irving, because I don't think you do. Well, I'm curious to clear that part up.
I guess the 4th round selection.
But also followed it up with, did we not run that exact playbook when we drafted Fournette? Drafting a running back, it fixes your running game issues. The difference is that you also still do have a quarterback. And with all due respect to Blake Bortles, who's probably listening right now, because that's the way the world works. But point being, again, that was an offensive line that didn't have the treasure trove of riches that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers do. So if 910, if that's the point that you're trying to make, then okay, I see where you're going with that. The Jaguars also, once upon a time, signed James Robinson in undrafted free agency, released Leonard Fournette, and ran the ball 65 to 70% of the time in 2020, and they won 1 game that year. So yes, Leonard Fournette, James Robinson, different players, although Doug Marrone felt that, one was better than the other. Point being, I just
and then Urban liked Carlos Hyde. So
the question to me is
910. We're on the same page. Says if we build the offensive line, we can help Trevor and the running game. That is my point. My point is that just by drafting a pretty shiny toy at running back, that does not necessarily mean that your run game issues are solved.
So my question for him is: would he rather a Armand Mimbo than over Mason
Correct.
Graham.
There you go.
There's
If
that.
Will Campbell's off the board.
Yeah. In
Well-
that situation, he was.
Yeah, I think the answer, at least from the evidence they've shown to us so far, this current regime, is they've brought in 4 offensive linemen. Whether or not they were the highest paid offensive lineman in free agency is not the point. The point is, though they believe that this offensive line wasn't good enough, they've brought in guys that I would imagine, at least as of now, 2 starters. And so how many elite weapons does Trevor Lawrence have right now on this roster? How many? One. Brian Thomas Jr. You give him Ashton Genty, and there's another elite weapon.
You could also give him Ted McMillan. You also could give
certainly
him Matthew Golden. You also could give him Tyler Warren, Colston Loveland.
Sure, there's
Not at 5 for me personally.
Luther Burden. Like, there are other guys in this draft that certainly I think would help. But if you were to ask me what's the biggest thing that's going to help Trevor Lawrence in 2025 besides staying healthy, because obviously that's the key, and that goes back to the offensive line for sure, it's having an effective and efficient run game. And if Trevor Lawrence plays better, you're going to win a lot more games.
627, save the pick. Go get Caleb Johnson in the second round. Go Hawks. Amen to that. I will also add this. I subscribe to the Earth Theory, Lauren, and the Earth Theory states that there are not many human beings, as much as there's not many human beings with Ashton Genty's skill set, to be clear, walking around planet Earth, there are not many 300-pound plus offensive and defensive linemen that can either generate pass rush from the interior or they can properly execute blocks, get after it in the run game. There's not many of those human beings that can also run a sub 540 yard dash walking around the earth. You're not going to get one of them in the second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh round. You can only get them in the first round. So take advantage while you can.
I am certainly not predicting that this is what the Jaguars are doing. It was more a really fun exercise to envision what could this offense look like if they were to add a special player in Ashton Genty. And I think a guy that could almost won the Heisman. He almost, very close, obviously. It was one of the closer Heisman races we've ever seen. And then he almost also beat Barry Sanders' record in one season for rushing the football. Like, Ashton Genty's probably not going to be
not
the pick.
playing many second halves of games,
Right,
honestly,
exactly.
or late in games, last quarters of games.
Yeah, so it's exciting, I guess, for me to think how different this offense could look with the addition of someone like that. And I don't know if the addition of someone like Mason Graham drastically changes the defense.
Just to put a bow on it, 910 has responded to you, Taylor.
Okay.
His draft or her draft strategy is an offensive lineman with the 5th overall pick, then defensive lineman with the 36th overall pick, and then defensive offensive line with the 2 third-round picks.
Okay. So in that situation, Will Campbell was gone, so it would have been a Armand Mimbo, I'm guessing, because that's next best.
Correct.
Yeah, and people love Armand Mimbo.
Yeah, I like
and
him.
if he's the pick, then what does that tell us? That tells us that Walker Little, in my estimation, that tells us that Walker Little might move to left guard, but he's probably not going to be the starting left tackle. Again, that's what I would have would expect if that's the pick. All right, the Jaguars worked super hard at the docuseries called The Hunt. The first episode with this new regime debuted last night. We will let you hear a couple clips, no spoilers, but let you hear a couple clips from that when we return. You are listening to Helmets and Heels on 1010XL 92.5 FM.
Hey, this is Derek Trucks on my hometown station 1010XL 92.5 FM.
Value or flavor? Price or taste? Why choose when you can get both with everyday deals at Sonny's? Right now, you can get the pork big deal for 10, the pork and rib combo for 12, and all you can eat ribs for just $19.99. Yep, you heard right. All your favorites are now available all day, every day. And that's why it's always Sonny's here. Sonny's Barbecue, local pitmaster since '68.
My son had a meniscus surgery a couple of years ago. When it's smooth as silk, Dr. Kevin Murphy did it. Was playing tennis in 2 weeks. This is Patrick Malarkey, and I highly recommend
Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
Your Jacksonville Sharks are back and ready to take the field for the 15th anniversary season. The Drive for 5 starts Sunday, April 6th as your Sharks take on the Las Vegas Nighthawks. Ask about special ticket pricing for all you sports teams at jacksharks.com or call 904-621-0700. 904-621-0700.
Go Sharks!
Prosser here. Sharks football is back. Come celebrate the 15th 15th anniversary season this Sunday, April 6th, as the Sharks take on the Las Vegas Nighthawks in their home opener at the VyStar Veterans Memorial Arena. Already 1-0, the Sharks look to crush Vegas on Pirates and Princesses Night. Have some family fun and break out your best pirate hat or tiara.
We're naught but humble pirates.
For tickets and special prices for youth sports teams, go to jacksharks.com or call 904-621-0700. That's jacksharks.com or 621-0700.
Jacksonville's summer heat is coming in fast. Is your AC ready to handle it? Or will it quit on you on the hottest day of the year, leaving you sweating and stuck with a huge repair bill? Duck Air Conditioning is here to save the day with a free AC system inspection. Our expert techs will make recommendations to ensure your AC system is running in tip-top shape before the heat arrives. Call now, 904-862-6769. Duck Air Conditioning, duckac.com. Any required repairs are not included in the inspection.
ET here, and it's time for the Taste of Golf at TPC Sawgrass, April 23rd. Join me for fine cuisine from chefs from the top golf clubs in our area. Craft cocktails, games, and unique auction items will be present. This is one of the most impactful charitable events in our area. Come network with a sophisticated audience who's passionate about golf and its values, while impacting the youth in our community. All proceeds benefit First Tee, North Florida. For tickets, go to tasteofgolf.com. Come on, somebody.
So, you finally have some time to yourself. Even if it is just the car ride home, it's you time. And look at you. Do not disturb set before you even got in the car? Impressive. You've earned this moment to just chill and drive. This break is brought to you by Target Zero and the Florida Department of Transportation.
Mia O'Brien is going to be the first woman president of the United States of America.
Catch me weekdays from noon to 2 on Helmets and Heels.
And she could run later this year even, and I would vote for her.
All things Mia are driven by Arlington Toyota on 1010XL.
Are you looking for a place to outfit your truck or van? It's Catlin Truck Accessories. For 105 years and 4 generations, Catlin is the name you can count on. This is Keith Catlin, and we know trucks and vans too, from Lear toppers, ladder racks, van shelving, strobe lighting, roll and lock bed covers, and everything in between. If you want quality products and great customer service, there's only one name. It's Catlin.
Who can you count on? Count on Catlin.
For 105 years, you can count on Catlin.
$5,000. That's the average amount of money people in the U.S. are now spending on gas in a year. $5,000. That's crazy. If you drive, you have to download Upside, the free app that gives you cash back every time you get gas. That's right. You can earn real cash back with Upside just by buying the gas you're already buying. You can literally start earning cash back today.
I use Upside every time I fill up, and I've already made around $300.
You're putting gas in your car anyway. Why not get real cash back? If you like free money, download Upside.
I'm saving the cash I earn from using Upside to help pay for a vacation later this year.
Download the free Upside app now to earn cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code WEALTH to get an extra 25 cents per gallon on your first tank. You can cash out anytime right to your bank, PayPal, or a gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code WEALTH for a 25 cents per gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code WEALTH for a 25 cents per gallon bonus.
The Golf Club of Southampton has plenty going on, from a great round to a round with your buds, soaking up some football and great grub. Every Saturday and Sunday at Southampton, enjoy their game day special. Wings tossed in your favorite sauce and a cold pitcher of beer. Membership opportunities to take advantage of, too. Join Southampton with a paid initiation, and you'll get a $500 gift card. Perfect for golf, pro shop purchases, or the clubhouse. Check it out. It's all happening at the Golf Club of Southampton.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
Everyone in Jacksonville and probably across the world stopped what they were doing in order to watch the first episode of The Hunt. Our friends Patrick Cavanaugh, Dave DeCandis, and that whole entire team there at the Jaguars, they do such a good job, the video team. And Patrick tweeted out a picture of kind of the behind-the-scenes storyboard today. So if you want to know, how exactly they put this whole thing together, how much time it involves, it's a huge production that they do. And they went all the way to Rhode Island. Like I said, I'm not going to spoil anything, but I did want people to hear a couple clips from it. I'm assuming we all thought it was spectacular.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think a lot of the clips we've already kind of seen because this one's been an episode so long in the making, and they've been able to release a couple different sneak previews. So some of the video will be familiar because you've probably seen it in some other compilations that the Jaguars video and social team has put out there. But no, I thought it was great. There was some great behind the scenes access. Certainly that trip to Rhode Island, I thought was one of the more emotional parts of it when Liam Cohen gets to see his grandparents for the first time in quite some time. Again, not to spoil it, but like when his grandma says, like, I didn't know if I would see you again. Like, hello.
And the little Liam picture, I was like, his head's so tiny in that jersey.
Yeah, and a reminder for people, Liam's mom passed away in 2006, and so these are his mom's parents. Yeah. So there's a special connection there anyway. But yeah, I loved it. I'm assuming you did too.
Oh, yeah, it was fantastic. And I love these things anyways. This is, and I've talked about before, the podcast I do separately, it's this vibe. It's getting to know the people beyond what you know, because there's so much more when it comes to coaches, when it comes to players, that is important when it comes to finding out what type of person they are and how that transfers into leading a team or coaching a team or playing on a team. And so I love these background stories so much of getting to know people on a more personal level.
Well, that's a perfect segue because we want to find out what Tony Baselli thinks about Liam Cohen.
One of the really bright, top-end offensive minds in this league. I mean, that's clear. Just watch the tape. The question was, and the question that needed to be answered, is he the type of leader that can lead the whole building? Because that's what the head coach is. The head coach is the voice. If done correctly, in my opinion, the head coach is the voice of the building.
Well, that's pretty cool, guys.
That was Liam seeing his office there for the first time at the end. Yeah. But yeah, I think what Tony Baselli is referencing to me is the head coach that he had, Tom Coughlin, and how much of a voice he was in the entire building, really in the entire city of Jacksonville.
Yeah, and I think we talk all the time about how certain coordinators become head coaches and they don't work, and the why of that. And a lot of it boils down to what Tony just said, is you can be really good at your position group, and you can be really good at understanding the game and being able to coach those individual players in that way. But when you take on and being a play caller, and each level obviously is more and more. But as a head coach, there's a whole other level to it because you're in charge of everything. You're in charge of all of these relationships. You're in charge of the coaches below you, and you also have that relationship with the guys above you, that direct relationship now. So there's a lot of balancing to do. And so you have to them evaluating, which is a hard job to do. That's why we see a lot of head coaches not work. It's not easy for a general manager to really evaluate if these guys who are stud defensive coordinators are going to be able to do the head coaching job. That's hard. That's not an easy job to do. And we kind of mock it at times. But I think in this scenario, it felt like they were all on the page very quickly about Liam Cohen and that he had that ability. And everybody I'm sure they talked to when it came to Tampa, when it comes to players, people that worked with him in Kentucky and LA and all of that, everybody had a similar mindset of he can be a leader of men, and that's not a question.
I think an important note, and I find it hilarious, by the way, there's still some bloggers out there in Tampa, some vloggers that are like still trying to stroke this Todd Bowles versus Liam Cohen flame. Like, please stop. While you're ahead.
They like the drama.
I think that Todd Bowles has done an amazing job between Dave Canales and Liam Cohen of giving them autonomy over the offense and setting them up for those head coaching positions that they now have both ascended to, because he allowed them to hire their own staff. He allowed them to lead meetings. He allowed them to have a major voice in draft decisions and from the coaching staff, the input that was presented to the scouting department and front office. And so, yeah, I think that as much as people want to depict this friction between these two Florida franchises, I think that actually it was a great leadership move by Bowles to give that opportunity to Liam, and that's why you at least, if only 1 year, you have a sample size.
What's ironic is Taylor just said, the general manager has to pick the coach, and sometimes that's a difficult decision. That did not happen here.
It didn't.
The head coach was in place well before the general manager, and certainly that was detailed as well. So speaking of the general manager, here's Liam Cohen, the head coach, on the general manager, James Gladstone.
The way that he was able to communicate with not just the staff, the personnel staff, the scouts, all those people that really work under and with him, it was the coaches. It was the way that he was able to conflict resolution in difficult and stressful times. It was always calm, cool, collected.
I loved that. I know. I loved the way he was able to conflict resolution, because it's something that when you're talking about building a football team, and at this point, yes, he has some building blocks, but we've talked about a lot. There's a lot of work to do. You're building a staff through all of this, and very quickly, by the way, because he was hired later. So very quickly, you're building a staff. You're getting ready to start drafting new players. You're having to hit free agency only a couple weeks after you are hired here in Jacksonville. And so the way he worded that to me shows that James Gladstone is one of those people that can react fast too, which is not what everybody can do. And I think that the conflict resolution thing is important, because we talk a lot about here's a problem and how do you solve that problem? And there's multiple ways to do this. In the last few years, I feel like the coaching staff, it wasn't like they weren't trying. There were certain things that they felt like they were fixing, or they felt like switching play calling back and forth between Press and Doug and whatever the heck was going on. In their minds, that was trying to fix this problem. But to me, what James Gladstone and the history of everything he's been involved with shows that when there has been conflict, when you don't have first-round draft picks, when you don't have a ton of draft picks, he's been able to resolve those, and it's worked out. And it's worked out in a time when people are like, man, they're broke and they have no draft picks. What are they going to do? And they were
literally. I was sitting here being like, if Matthew Stafford gets hurt again, like, I think they're blowing this whole thing up, and they're going to have the first pick overall in the NFL draft, ahead of Caleb Williams, go projected at number 1 overall. And I was like, my goodness, they're going to keep Caleb in at Los Angeles. I sat here at this very seat, I'm pretty sure, and said as much. But no, I think that the word servant leadership gets thrown around a lot. Mm-hmm. It's a pretty big buzzword these days. But the way that Tony Boselli not only described it in The Hunt, the way that James Gladstone described that word in The Hunt, but also the way that Tony has described it here on 1010XL as well, is this idea of we are going to take all the minutia away. All those little things, on a more, I guess, level that maybe you or I could relate to, Taylor. Like, for example, with Taylor and I, with our other role outside of being an on-air host here at 1010, we obviously do a ton of spreadsheets. We do a ton of, tracking stats and, hey, what's working in this market? What's working in that market? This is Tony Boselli saying, hey, I'll handle those stats. Tell me what you need. You focus on being a host. Mm-hmm. Like, that's what this is. And I think that a lot of those little stat tracks, like tracking stats or whatever it is, those are responsibilities that maybe because the head coach, even the general manager the last 4 years, was too busy doing too many other things, that got pushed to the wayside.
Oh, yeah.
I don't get the sense that part of Trent Baalke's failure was trying to do too many things. Like, I don't. Trust me, I've talked to enough people around the league have said it. Like, evaluation of talent was like the 9th reason he got fired. Like, as much as you may not agree with some of his draft decisions, it was the putting little fires everywhere and creating, like, whether intentionally or unintentionally, creating friction in very, like, saying to one coach, I don't really agree with this. But then saying to another coach, well, I don't really agree with the guy I just talked to. And now all of a sudden you've created these little fires everywhere. Yeah. And whether intentional or not, in his nature.
Instead of that conflict resolution, Trent Baalke, it was like a conflict temporary solution. Like, it was never anything that is built to last is the problem in that.
Conflict creator. That's the opposite of that. All right, we'll let you hear one more from Boselli in a little bit, but when we return, what will the Browns do with pick number 2? We will chat with Corey Kinnan of the Browns Wire and see just what they're thinking. Obviously, today's Colorado's Pro Day, so that could factor into it. You are listening to Helmets and Heels on 1010XL 92.5 FM.
Turn on the radio.
In your car, 92.5 FM and 1010 AM.
Would you like to drive for a while?
In your house, at the beach, on your phone, at the gym, on vacation, out of town.
Well, everyone knows that.
Download our free 1010XL app for all smart devices.
At Diamonds Direct, we believe luxury is an experience and not a price tag. Luxury is expert guidance. It's the selection of 10 jewelry stores under one roof. It's saving time on endless comparison shopping, and you'll only find this experience at Diamonds Direct. Our luxury showroom has it all backed by our lifetime warranties and our signature best price guarantee. Diamonds Direct is the perfect combination of luxury and value, so you don't ever have to compromise. Learn more at diamondsdirect.com. Diamonds Direct, your love, our passion.
DivorceMenOnly.com. This is Kenny Lay of Kenny Lay & Associates. Our firm specializes in representing men in family law. That's all we do. That's our only focus. We can help with all of your family law needs, such as divorce, custody, alimony, and child support. For over a decade, we have helped thousands of men with these types of issues. We even have an appellate division ready to challenge a judge's ruling. If you need a family law attorney, go to DivorceMenOnly.com. DivorceMenOnly.com. Offices, Jacksonville.
It's tune-up time, and Florida Home AC, the official AC partner of the Jaguars, wants to partner with you for a cool summer season. Tune up your AC unit right now so it's running at peak performance when you need it most. Just call 777-4300 and order a tune-up for just $59. Keep your unit humming at optimal level. Log on to FloridaHomeAC.com and take advantage of their savings. Keep cool with Florida Home AC. That's 777-4300.
No matter what the reason, sending a floral arrangement from Kuhn Flowers always works. For unique and special gifts, visit their showroom on Beach Boulevard. ET here with Tintin XL. Kuhn Flowers is my go-to, and it should be yours too. Online at KuhnFlowers.com.
At Hurricane Grill and Wings, the wings are fresh, the drinks are cold, and the game is always on. With 30-volt flavors, ice-cold beer, and handcrafted cocktails, there's no better place to kick back and catch every play. Escape the ordinary. Your home for sports is Hurricane Grill and Wings.
This Day in Sports History is brought to you by Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
On April 4th, 1974, baseball legend Hank Aaron tied Babe Ruth's home run record with 714 by hitting a 3-run homer off Jack Billingham.
Pickett here with my concierge doctor, Richard Townsend. Doc T, how does a concierge direct primary care operate?
We are a membership-based primary care made directly between a patient and physician. We'll have a limited amount of patients that allows us to give unlimited access and personal service to you. This individualized approach has been shown to lower hospitalizations as well as maintain healthier lives. We also give 24/7 access via phone to me outside of our scheduled office hours.
To learn more, go to mypvconcierge.com.
Enhance your home with Renew by Anderson's superior craftsmanship and timeless design. Right now, get $300 off all windows or $825 off patio doors. Plus, 0 down, no payments, and no interest for 18 months, but this offer expires April 30th. Renew by Anderson, proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Visit bestwindowsflorida.com to schedule your free consultation.
License number CGC 1527613. Are you thinking about a pool for your home? Blue Haven Pools is Jacksonville's largest pool builder. They've built pools for over 20,000 satisfied families since 2000. It's never been easier to design the perfect pool for your home, family, and budget. Call Blue Haven Pools today at 904-620-0090 to get a free in-home estimate for your in-ground pool, or visit bluehaven.com. Don't let another summer pass by without a pool. Join thousands of happy Jacksonville pool owners in a Blue Haven pool.
All right, it's Baloo. Let's get real for a minute. Losing weight isn't exactly easy, especially when your life involves being surrounded by good food at every event imaginable. Believe me, I get it. But thanks to Awaken 180, I'm already down 10 pounds, feeling sharper, more energized, and never hungry. This isn't some juice diet or starving yourself nonsense. I'm eating food that tastes great, even when I'm out on the road. Here's the beauty. Awaken 180 gives you the game plan to handle real-life situations. I've been hitting plenty of events lately, temptation everywhere, and I've managed to stay on track effortlessly. That's huge. 10 pounds down, energy way up, hunger totally controlled. So if you're tired of carrying around extra weight, tired of diets that don't work, it's time to check out Awaken 180. Take it from me, Hacker, Dempsey, Hayes, basically everyone. It's easy. It works and it's real. Do what we did and choose the solution for weight loss. Online at awaken180weightloss.com.
Beat the spring cleaning rush with big savings and priority booking by calling our heroes at Zero Res. This month, get Zero Resified from Jacksonville's #1 carpet cleaner. You'll get 25% off all cleaning services. That's right, 25% off. Check out 8,000 raving customer reviews if you don't believe me online. Call them, 904-287-5727, or visit their website, ZeroResJacksonville.com. Zero Res, spell it forwards or backwards. It's the right way to clean.
It's game time for your business, and Advanced Business Solutions has the winning play. With Xerox copiers, you'll never miss a deadline. Fast, reliable, and built for high performance, Xerox copiers keep your team ahead of the competition. From printing to scanning, Xerox brings the MVPs of efficiency to your office. Ready to make the winning move? Hire the champions at Advanced Business Solutions. Veteran owned.
Printers, copiers, and IT management. Advanced Business Solutions.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
All right, welcome back into Helmets and Heels. We are continuing our draft series, getting to know some of the teams that are picking ahead of the Jags, just to get an idea at who should, could, would be available at that fifth pick. And so we're going to continue on and talk some Browns today. And we are joined by Corey Kennan. He covers the Browns for the Browns Wire, also covers the NFL draft for Daft on Draft. So, Corey, thanks so much for hopping on and joining us.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me.
Let's start with, I think, the big question. And I know a lot of mock drafts recently have Abdul Carter mocked to the Browns, and we will get to him. But I think the quarterback conversation is big in this top four because of, we talked yesterday to someone about that first pick with the Tennessee Titans, and they pretty much said that it looks like that name is already written on the card and on its way to the podium with Cam Ward. And so that next conversation comes with Shedeur Sanders. So what is the chatter there in Cleveland? Is there any talk at all that pick may be Shedeur, or has that gone out the window?
I don't think I would say it has gone out the window, but the conversation very strongly feels like it is between the two position there players, either, the edge Abdul Carter for Penn State or Travis Hunter, who they view primarily as a wide receiver first. And their offense was, dead last year in efficiency and explosive plays and in about any other metric that you could have identified. So it does kind of seem like the conversation has shifted away from quarterback and more towards either Hunter or Carter there at number 2.
And which of those two, Corey Kennan, are you most tantalized by, and who do you think is the right fit for the Browns, matching talent, need, holes on that roster?
Yeah, so it would be Hunter for me by a pretty wide margin. They had an 1,000-yard season out of Jerry Jeudy last year, and I do think that Jeudy came along nicely, but I would love another threat there to continue to take some pressure off of Jeudy. I don't know if any team in the NFL really identifies Jerry Jeudy as a true number one wide receiver, the way that if you add a Travis Hunter to that offense, the kind of attention that he would draw would. Obviously, you need somebody to throw the football to Travis Hunter, and that's probably in a different conversation. But in terms of making your offense more explosive, more creative, Travis Hunter by a landslide, and that's because, one, you have Myles Garrett. And I do think they have two young edge rushers that they still truly believe in Alex Wright and Isaiah McGuire as well, to where drafting an edge second overall doesn't necessarily seem like a priority. Again, if there weren't another blue-collar player, another blue-chip player in this class, I think they would go ahead and take Carter, but Travis Hunter very much is a blue-chip player as well. And so when you look at just how bad and abysmal they were on offense, again, a lot has to do with the quarterback position, but in a class like this where Cam Ward is going 1, and where, do you force the quarterback at 2 and Shedeur Sanders, do you just kind of wait and see what's there at 33, whether that is coming up if Shedeur does slip, if that's taking a shot on the development of Jalen Milroe, something like that, with the 33rd overall pick instead. But getting better offensively has to be the priority for this team, I think, and that's why I would see Travis Hunter.
Corey, I feel like this story wasn't talked about that much in Jacksonville, but I'm sure it was in Cleveland. The fact that the owner of the Browns came out and said, yeah, we swung and missed on Deshaun Watson. I feel like that's a huge insult. I mean, obviously we've seen it not transpire the way that the Browns wanted it to, but I'm guessing that a quarterback, like you mentioned, probably is in the mix in this draft.
Oh, yeah, at some point, and within the first 2 rounds. And again, I don't think it'll be at 2, just because from a value perspective. But again, you hold the 33rd overall pick. You have 2 third-round picks as well. And so the Browns are always proactive in trading back on day 2 as well to try to add another day 2 pick in the next year. So, there's a good chance they could try to come up from 33 and then trade back from one of their third rounders, or use one of those extra third rounders to come up from 33 as well. If Sanders does fall into the late teens, early 20s, as hard as that would seem to believe, if that situation did happen, I think they'd come up. They've been doing their homework on all the quarterbacks, whether that's Milroe, Dart on day 2. I'm not a huge supporter of drafting Jackson Dart at like 33rd overall, but I think Milroe is a calculated shot that I would take there. Just hoping to hit, and if it doesn't, you're not investing a lot of financial capital into that pick, and at the end of the day, it's a second round pick, and that's not going to cause you, if you do find yourself picking in the top 5 again next year, to come back and try to pick a quarterback again. So it does seem like quarterback is on the menu at some point in this draft.
Yeah, it would be hard to imagine they would enter week 1 with Deshaun Watson and Kenny Pickett as the 2 quarterbacks on the roster. But Corey, when we're talking about the top of this draft, there's a lot of people that say that top-end blue chip talent, there's only a few guys that really are in that category. And then some of these teams are going to end up having to reach. But when it comes to the Jaguars picking at that number 5, I do think that Mason Graham pick seems to be the one mocked to them a lot, and that is one of the guys that a lot of people are high on. But a lot of it does fall on where Shedeur ends up going, if he does or does not go into that top. So how far do you think he may fall in this draft if it continues kind of in the path where it's at?
Yeah, I mean, it seems like the Giants also want Travis Hunter. So we'll see if the Giants would take Abdul Carter, or if the Browns take Hunter, or if they don't get aggressive to come up and try to get Hunter, like moving up one spot. The Giants still could be a situation. I'm pretty intrigued by signing Jameis Winston to a 2-year deal in that quarterback room as well, where it kind of has a feel of like they want to compete while also keeping maybe an eye on the future, like with Russ on a 1-year deal. And just knowing the kind of quarterback and persona that Russ has kind of built up throughout his NFL career, especially over the past 2 years, it doesn't seem like he's the kind of quarterback you would want a rookie quarterback to come in behind, but potentially Jameis Winston is. So I kind of have a feel that maybe the Giants have this idea that they can have their cake and eat it too, by signing Russ to maybe help them compete now, whatever they're going to get out of Russ, but also having Jameis Winston in that room as a backup first, but also as maybe that guy who's been revered in every locker room he's gone in. You can say what you want about Jameis Winston as a player, but it seems like every locker room he's been into, all of his teammates love him. So there's part of me that thinks that maybe the Giants are trying to do both of the, accomplish 2 goals at once, save their jobs and draft their quarterback of the future at the same time. But if Hunter's on the board there, I do think they still go Hunter. So, I mean, if the Giants go Hunter, maybe 9, like New Orleans at 9, their cap situation is really rough. Derek Carr's probably, this is it for him this year. So 9 to New Orleans would make some sense. But if it's not 9 at New Orleans, who knows? It could go on for a while. And I do think one of those teams, whether it's the Giants coming back up in the second round, the Browns coming back up from the second round, would be inclined to kind of come up and see what they could do there.
Corey, not only do the Browns pick ahead of the Jaguars at number 2 overall, they also select 33rd overall. And so, of course, there's also an idea of maybe there's some players who fall out of the first round that the Jaguars could be interested in, but the Browns scoop them up first, and that is if they don't trade back into the first round and potentially select a quarterback or another player for that matter. Who are some names second, third round that maybe you've identified as this would be a great fit for the Browns?
Yeah, so I wouldn't call it a great offensive tackle class, but I do think there's some nice day 2 depth, and that's a position the Browns pretty handedly need to address. Jedrick Wills, they drafted him 10th overall in 2020, and he hasn't even signed anywhere after 5 years with the Browns, and whether that's him deciding he doesn't really want to play football anymore, but based on this offensive tackle market, it's odd that he hasn't signed anywhere, but that pick didn't work out. So and offensive tackle is really a position they haven't addressed in free agency outside of signing veteran Cornelius Lucas, who is a 34-year-old swing tackle, journeyman swing tackle. So it seems like left tackle would be a priority. If Oregon's Josh Connerly fell out of the first round, I think the Browns would have him pretty high on their board at 33. Ohio State's Josh Simmons coming off a patellar tendon tear. So if he fell out of the first round because of that, I think that's a guy they'd have high on their board. If they don't go Hunter in the first round, I think there's plenty of day 2 wide receivers that you could take a swing on right there as well. If there's not a spot for Emeka Egbuka in the first round somewhere, that's a name from Ohio State that could make the trip up of I-71 north from Columbus to Cleveland. Missouri's Luther Burden seems to be falling out of favor for as talented as I think he is. So That's another wide receiver that the Browns might take at 33 if he were on the board and they opt to go with Abdul Carter second overall and want to address a wide receiver early in the second round.
Corey, we talk about Trevor Lawrence for obvious reasons a lot on this show. I feel like the second most talked about quarterback on this show is Jameis Winston.
Yeah, I was about to say, we do a Jameis Winston segment like once a month.
we love to play the audio from Jameis. So, yeah, to your point, he is loved. I wondered if Browns fans were upset that he's no longer in Cleveland.
So, I mean, it kind of goes both ways, right? It was he provided a couple of really fun wins. The snow game with a Thursday Night Football, and they beat the Steelers. But I think that Cleveland, by the end of the tenure, was like, okay, this was a 1-year thing, and we're kind of, where it is what it is. And I think, multiple 3-interception games will kind of wear on you. As fun as the player is, as fun as the person is, like personality-wise, it felt like that quarterback, and it probably goes on with Deshaun Watson and Dorian Thompson-Robinson as well, as like, by the end of the season, it was like, okay, this room, we're done with this room, and we need to see probably 3 new faces in here, and it's kind of what it looks like is going to happen. So it was a little bit Jameis, but a little bit the collective whole of like, let's just revamp this entire room and see what we can do moving forward.
Yeah, we had the Minshew Mania experience here, and as fun as the moments are, sometimes it's not so fun when you're not winning football games. But I did want to ask about that in the quarterback world, because you do a lot of QB charting and analysis for perception also. So I did want to get your thoughts, because I did a quick little search and I saw some of the things that you were tweeting originally when the Jags drafted Trevor Lawrence, kind of through the last few years, how things went, that play calling back and forth between Press Taylor and Doug. But what are your thoughts on Trevor Lawrence here in Jacksonville and kind of the expectations with Liam Cohen now?
Yeah, I'm still really bullish on Trevor. We saw some glimpses there in the first year with Doug. Obviously, we didn't see it with Urban, but it felt like the Doug Peterson era peaked pretty fast and plateaued, and then went off a cliff pretty fast too. So I still have quite a bit of hope for Trevor Lawrence, just because the talent is there, the accuracy is there. I think everything is there, and now you finally have a top-end wide receiver talent for him as well in Brian Thomas Jr., and I know Evan Ingram is on the move now, who Trevor liked 2 years ago as one of his top targets. But I do like the pairing with Liam Cohen, looking at what he did with Baker Mayfield last year as well. And I think Baker Mayfield's like gunslinger mentality, like almost to a fault, where he will push some footballs where they shouldn't go, is kind of aligns with Trevor a little bit. But I think that Liam is a quarterback coach and an offensive coordinator, now head coach, who almost kind of encourages that, though. Like, I want to see you take some risks. I want to see you push the ball a little bit, push the boundaries of what you should do, shouldn't do, find some gray areas in your game, and work outside of a yes or no structure, but like more of a if this, then that kind of structure. So I think that kind of fits Trevor very well. So I'm still really bullish on Trevor. I think this pairing with Liam Cohen is going to go well. I think it's going to go really well with Trevor Lawrence.
He's the real Corey, even if his X handle is fake Corey, Kinnna. And Corey, one more for you. This one's actually from our YouTube chat line from Robert. Is Greg Newsome on the trading block?
I would think he is. It's kind of been off and on for the past couple of years. 2 years ago, he was drafted in the first round of 2021. 2 years ago, he changed representation where it kind of made it sound like he was going to ask out because they had played him in the nickel and he wanted to play outside. With Jim Schwartz then being hired, he hung around, is playing predominantly nickel. It hasn't been the prettiest over the past couple of years, and now he enters that fifth-year option, $13 million guaranteed. So it does feel like he has a very tradable profile from a team that probably needs to get a little bit cheaper. He is talented for what he can do. If you can put up with the occasional, hamstring groin pulls, the occasional missed tackles in the open field. But he's a fluid athlete, really good in coverage. And just, the thing with Greg is try to get him to lock in 100% of the plays as well. But I would have to think, based on the money that he is due, that the Browns would be open to moving him, and even if that meant eating half of that $13 million to make it happen.
Well, Corey, you and I are in alignment. That's a big buzzword around here, because I literally said on our show on Friday that Trevor Lawrence is a gunslinger and that Baker Mayfield is the exact same way. They're both going to always throw pretty much double-digit interceptions, but it's going to still be, especially this system, is going to still be a way for them to succeed.
Yeah, I very much think so.
All right, well, again, Corey Kennan covers the Browns for it. The Browns Wire also covers NFL Draft for Daft on Draft. We really appreciate your time, Corey, and happy draft month.
Hey, thank you so much. You too. Anytime.
Almost there. That's the thing.
Hey, less than
Almost
3
there.
weeks, right?
Yeah.
Like yesterday was officially 3
Yeah.
weeks, so
That's
that
right.
puts it, 20 days away? We'll
Yeah.
gladly take that.
And we are working on our behind-the-scenes plans on where we're going to be for the draft, and it's going to be an absolute blast. All right, I want to get one more from Tony Baselli, because this, to me, was one of those clips last night that, or sound bites that, gave me goosebumps. I guess I get goosebumps a lot, honestly, when it comes to sports, either tears in my eyes or goosebumps. But here's Tony Baselli and the fact that he'll bet on this group assembled.
Let's look at the body of work. Let's look at who they are as individuals. Let's look at their capabilities and what they can do. And then at the end of the day, you're making a bet. Is this the right individual for our organization? I like the bet we made on Liam and James. You'll have to ask Shad about me.
I love that part.
I know, me too. There was one part of this, too, of the hunt where I'm genuinely curious of who they were talking about in this moment, because they are on the phone. You can tell it's one of the free agent moves that they're doing. And Liam Cohen is just stoked about something. I'm like, is it Diami Brown? Who are we talking about here? Because I was not excited about any of the free agent signings. He
Maybe
ran
Jordan
out of the
Lewis?
room. That's why I was. And they said something offensively, though, but it also could have been multiple things, obviously, all meshed together. But I was like, they were excited about somebody in that room.
And I know plenty of Jaguar fans joked when that was a pre-released clip. They were like, "My goodness, have we ever seen any coach, any GM this pumped up at the at downtown?" I won't say the Miller Electric Center because technically only 2 regimes have worked there. I'm not gonna lie. When Tony had the line about I was told by a mentor long ago that you hire people you're willing to bet on.
I
started
giggled a little.
I giggled a little, but I also started self-reflecting. And I'm like, am I betting on my staff? Of course I am. I know they're listening right now here at 1010XL World Headquarters.
My mind went to former, where I was like, man, some of these people bet on the wrong people.
I mean, that's really the most important thing that Shad's done recently is figure out who to hire.
Yeah.
And it's gone wrong here a lot since 2012.
Yeah.
By the way, the Browns, I think, will be ecstatic when they turn in their card for what it sounds like to be Travis Hunter.
Yeah.
And it sounds like maybe play defense.
Yeah, so when we come back, we'll kind of dive through the storylines in the 1 o'clock hour. Colorado Pro Day is going on right now. Shador Sanders, Travis Hunter will not run the 40-yard dash. However, they both will compete in on-field workouts. Evidently, it's snowing. We'll run you through the VIP list of who's there, who's not, but I agree.
Who didn't make it?
Yeah, because of the snow. Shout out Raheem Morris. I'm just kidding. That I felt really bad for Raheem that they took the coach's picture last week without him. And it's not that far from Atlanta, but I digress. I agree with Corey, though. I think Travis Hunter will be the pick ultimately for them at 2. And look, this is a team that, while it hasn't figured out the quarterback position in Cleveland, they certainly have figured out the defensive line, even beyond Myles Garrett, even if he necessarily hasn't had a household name opposite him. And maybe that's where Abdul Carter might be a little bit appetizing.
Yeah. Especially to Stefanski.
Right.
He's drooling.
Sounds very cannibalistic.
I just come back to, especially if Greg Newsome's on the trading block, although it sounds like by all accounts the Browns would play Travis Hunter at wide receiver. I just come back to what I heard at the Combine, which is Abdul Carter, whether you want to look at it as he's a classic Penn State edge rusher and they all have a little bit of an edge to them, and those who were in the interview rooms who were like, yeah, he rubbed us the wrong way. And look, that interview shouldn't dictate whether you take a player or not if they're immensely talented, but are they the right player for your ecosystem? Yeah. Travis Hunter, by all accounts, he just loves ball. Yeah. He just wants to play football.
Philly's like, we'll take him.
Exactly. We'll keep the football conversation going. Also, I'll tell Mia what she needs to be doing at 2 p.m. today. When we return, you are listening to Helmets and Heels on 1010XL 92.5 FM.
You know, you can listen to 1010XL on your smart speaker.
Alexa, play 1010XL.
In fact, any speaker that plays 1010XL
1010XL
is pretty smart.
We're giving away free AC inspections to our wonderful customers who now call and schedule. But you must act today. A deal this good won't last forever. Call 904-862-6769. DuckDuckAC.com. Any required repairs are not included in the inspection.
Okay, for this Cannons of Jacksonville commercial, we need an idea to really come out with a bang.
Like having a guy shot out of a cannon.
Nah, too messy. In fact, Cannons is known for all your towing needs.
So like my car won't start.
No. towing products. Cannons does custom welding fabrication and installation of trailer hitches, goosenecks, tow bars, truck racks.
So you might say Cannons is my best shot at finding that inventory in stock?
Boom. You said it.
Visit cannonsofjacks.com.
Lauren Brooks here. At Hodges Mazda, they are proud of their solid reputation in the Jacksonville community. As your hometown Mazda dealer, their high customer service standards and their huge inventory of new and used cars provide their customers a consistently first-rate car buying experience. Their professional non-commissioned sales team put your best interest first without exception. And all new vehicle purchases include the Hodges Mazda Protection Package. Visit them online at hodgesmazda.com or stop in today to learn more and discover the Hodges Mazda difference.
At the First Coast YMCA, you'll find much more than just a gym. We offer many ways to help you become more active, reach your weight loss goals, and find your inner strength. Membership at the Y includes state-of-the-art facilities, a huge variety of fitness classes, and programs for all ages. It's easy to join the Y since it's affordable for all incomes. The Y is a great place to make connections and experience something new. Visit the YMCA near you or online at fcymca.org.
Your Jacksonville Sharks are back and ready to take the field for the 15th anniversary season. The Drive for Five starts Sunday, April 6th as your Sharks take on the Las Vegas Nighthawks. Ask about special ticket pricing for all you sports teams at jacksharks.com or call 904-621-0700. 904-621-0700.
Go Sharks! Prosser here. Sharks football is back. Come celebrate the 15th anniversary season this Sunday, April 6th, as the Sharks take on the Las Vegas Nighthawks in their home opener at the VyStar Veterans Memorial Arena. Already 1-0, the Sharks look to crush Vegas on Pirates and Princesses Night. Have some family fun and break out your best pirate hat or tiara.
We're not but humble pirates.
For tickets and special pricing for youth sports teams, go to jacksharks.com or call 904-621-0700. That's jacksharks.com or 621-0700.
Your tax refund is here. Why not invest in your home? Superior Fence and Rail helps you build value with beautiful, durable fences that boost your home security, privacy, and curb appeal. With expert installation and financing options, turning your yard into an outdoor oasis is easier than ever. Reinvest in your home today with Superior Fence and Rail.
When you're on the fence, about the fence, SuperiorFenceandRail.com.
I'm with Greg from Cycles of Jacksonville, and there's so many cool products that are on the line at Cycles of Jacksonville. The showroom is Atlantic and Regency, and we're talking, Greg, you've got from any level of price point, the experienced rider to the inexperienced on-road, off-road.
We've got it. We've got ATVs. We've got motorcycles. We've got scooters. We even have the new Honda boats. We've got something for everyone.
Don't forget about the boat line from Honda. It's all right there, waiting for you. Atlantic and Regency or Cycles of Jacksonville's Facebook page.
Pick it here for Bow 9 Associates, where you'll find Jacksonville's most esteemed eye doctors at each of their locations. After being selected for one of the most competitive ophthalmology fellowships in the world, Dr. Frank Bowden is frequently called upon for his expert opinion. He is currently one of the few cornea and external disease specialists in the area and the founder of Bow 9. Visit Bow 9 Associates today and experience the difference. Bow 9 Associates, keeping the First Coast focused.
Home of the Jaguars. WJXL AM Jacksonville Beach. WJXL FM Jacksonville Beach.
Instant Keys. You don't have to go to the dealer. Instant Keys comes to you.
Instant Keys saves the day if you have lost or broken keys. They can program new keys and remotes for nearly every make and model of vehicle at a fraction of the dealership cost. Fast, honest, and reliable locksmith service. Call 722-1111.
Instant Keys. Instant Keys. You don't have to go to the dealer. Instant Keys comes to you.
Ackerman Urology has 4 convenient locations providing advanced urological care to improve men's health and sexual vitality. Don't suffer through prostate, bladder, or kidney issues. Visit AckermanUrology.com.
Cannonball! Honey, someone's in our pool.
Oh, refreshing.
John, what are you doing?
Oh, hey, Dave. Seeing as how me and the guys at Clearwater Irrigation reinstalled your sprinklers after the pool contractor ripped it out, I thought you wouldn't mind if I took a quick dip.
But in a Jaguar print Speedo?
Yeah, Dave. My bad.
Clearwater Irrigation. We can't sing a lick, but we sure are good at sprinklers.
And drainage, too.
This is Molly McDonald with your 1010XL Southeast Orthopedic Specialist Local Sports Update, brought to you by TopDressing.com. The Florida Gators dance to the NCAA Men's Basketball Championship continues tomorrow as they take on the overall first-seeded Auburn Tigers in the Final Four in San Antonio. Gators head coach Todd Golden met with the media yesterday discussing how he feels his team is ready for the big stage.
I think the same reason why I've had success all year, being here and this being the first time. We have a very mature group, a very unselfish group, guys that are very driven, going into the mentality that, obviously it will be a great season regardless, but if we lose on Saturday, we'll have a bad taste in our mouth. Our senior leaders on the perimeter, I think, drive that, and our young guys in the front court just play so stinking hard. They're going to do whatever they need to do to keep us alive. I point to kind of the collective unity of this group as the main reason as to why, we'll do what we need to do on Saturday night to stay here.
Gators and Tigers tomorrow night in the Final Four. Tip off at 6:09. Hear the game live on 1010 a.m. 92.5 FM. It's 85 degrees at 1 o'clock. Time and temp brought to you by Bueller Air and Plumbing. Stay cooler with Bueller.
1010XL is presented by Farrah & Farrah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
Wow! I feel good.
It's a feel-good Friday.
We're going to have a good time together.
And that would be good.
So good.
Text or tweet something that makes you feel good today.
I hear good things. Really good things.
Cheers to the freaking weekend. Drink to the
Friday is the fact that Friday is here. It has been a long week, and Friday is here. I think it's felt long because I'm waiting for all these sporting events to occur. And the past few weeks, Florida men's basketball has played multiple times per week, so I've had that to look forward to. And then this week, they've drawn it out. So, Mia, at 2 p.m. today, here's what you have to do.
Oh, boy.
ESPN Plus is where you'll need to go to watch California, Alabama, North Carolina, and Iowa in gymnastics in the NCAA regionals in Tuscaloosa.
Yeah, they had a change.
That's the first session in Tuscaloosa.
They had a change of leadership. I think it's still Larissa's her name, who's the head coach. I believe that's what her name is. Don't quote me on that. But yeah, a couple years back, and yeah, they're actually pretty competitive now. Same with women's soccer and field hockey, which were sports that really weren't as prevalent back when I was covering them, 2015 to 2018. But it's been really exciting to watch from afar. Women's basketball was big even before Caitlin Clark, folks.
At 8 p.m. is when we have Florida, Oregon State, NC State, and Clemson. Much like the NCAA men's basketball tournament with the play-in games. Does the women's have the play-in games too?
For the Final Four? Yes. Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so the play-in games, gymnastics also has play-in meets.
Oh, cool.
And so last
just
night,
like Leon's bracket, too, on XL Primetime. There's play-in games for everything.
So last night, Clemson had a play-in meet, and so now they get to participate in session 2. That is tonight. The teams that have already advanced, LSU, of course, last year's national champion, Arkansas, Michigan State, Kentucky, UCLA, Minnesota, Utah, and Denver. So again, this is the regionals, the first time Florida will compete since the SEC championship when they came in third to Florida and to LSU and to Oklahoma.
How are you feeling?
I'm very nervous because gymnastics is one of those sports where depending on which apparatus you start on, I feel like is kind of how the meet will go.
Yeah.
And I hated that Florida started on floor for the SEC championships and finished on beam.
What determines that? It's
your seating.
Oh, okay.
And so for this meet tonight, I would hope that Florida gets to start where they would be on like bars and beam to begin with, and then do floor and then round things out with the vault. But we'll see. I prefer to start with vault and then end with floor. That's my preference. And if at a home meet, you get to do that. But we'll find out tonight. And yes, I'm nervous.
Yeah.
Excited, but really nervous, of course, because if you don't advance, you have to be the top 2 in this meet tonight, and Florida should. But if you don't advance, your
done.
season's over.
Oh,
yeah,
man.
it's a one and done type of thing.
I will be locked in on the women's Final Four this evening. 7 o'clock, South Carolina, perennial powerhouse with Texas, their opponent. Although if you've followed women's basketball, if you've followed Dawn Staley, you know that I believe the record now is it's like 23-4 between his time at Mississippi State and his time at Texas that Dawn Staley has defeated Vic Schaefer-led squads. I'm not telling you that you need to just put all your money on South Carolina because I don't want to jinx it for you, our gambling friends and our friends at Hard Rock Bet, but that's about as surefire to sports bet as I can have for you this Final Four weekend on both the men's and the women's sides. And then UConn, UCLA coming up at 9:30 afterwards.
Yeah, tomorrow night, obviously, we've got the Final Four in men's basketball. And I think at this point in time, the Florida-Auburn game, I feel like you could flip a coin, honestly.
Yeah.
Because these teams have obviously faced each other. Florida won that matchup in Auburn. But it's going to come down to, can Florida play consistently for all 40 minutes?
Yeah.
And can the guys that have stepped up all season continue to do so? Or and Janai Broom, by the way, says no limitations with that elbow injury that he suffered. We'll see. He had a really good game the last time on the floor, even with the injury. And so he's a guy that certainly Auburn needs him to play well. But yeah, Florida has a ton of different players, as we've talked about all season long, that if they start to go off, whether it's Will Richard, Elijah Martin, Walter Clayton Jr., Alex Condon, Thomas Houck, Denzel Aberdeen, all the different, Micah Handlog to not go off.
Keep going.
Yeah, I can rattle through them all. But if any of those guys, especially those guards, can have a big night. And so, we'll see. And then Duke, Houston, I feel like it's a close game, but I feel like Duke wins. Those are my gut feelings as of we sit here today.
Yeah, I would agree with that sentiment. I just think that while Houston has more offensive firepower than people give them credit for, I think people just so quickly associate Kelvin Sampson's teams with, well, they're great defensively, but what happens when they go cold, which inevitably happens? They have shooters. That's a non-issue now, but ultimately Duke has more shooters. I just think that length was such a buzzword coming out of both the men's and the women's Elite Eight and Elite Eight and Sweet 16s last week, and Houston has a lot of length. They have length that can match up with Duke, and I'm not sure Duke has faced anyone, maybe outside of Alabama, so far in the NCAA tournament that can actually compete with their measurables. That has been the ultimate distancer so far in the tournament.
Yeah, my bracket's busted because of Tennessee, so I'm just having fun now.
Which I tried to tell you, Tennessee has never made a Final Four.
Well, and I know, but I didn't want to be. That's where I get it. I told you my right side of my bracket was wild. I literally had Wisconsin and Tennessee in my Final Four, so that was part of that.
You went out on a limb.
Everybody else's was boring, and I didn't want it to be all one seed, so I went a little crazy. But it will be, to me, when it comes to that Florida-Auburn game, I'm really interested because a lot of the things that I've kind of seen and read about Auburn, and they talk about the Denver Jones kid who is one of the best perimeter defenders in college basketball. So I'm really interested to see how Todd Golden approaches this game, because I do feel like each game has been a little bit different too, because he has so many guys that he can use. So I'm fascinated at how he approaches this with somebody like that.
Well, here's the thing. What have we spent much of the week discussing? How in the final 5-6 minutes of that game, it felt as though the rest of the Gators were looking around saying, all right, Walt, we need you. All right, we need one other person besides Walt, because they're keying in on Walt. And Thomas Houck obviously stepped up to the moment. If Walt has been taken out of the game completely by a defense that's quite ferocious in the Auburn Tigers, then who steps up? And can it be Thomas again?
Yeah.
Certainly, but I would think that this team will be a bit more keyed in on him, having gotten thumped by him in Columbus, Georgia, or Columbus out. Is it Columbus, Georgia? It's Auburn, Alabama, but it's on the board of Columbus. I think in TV markets, folks. Sorry, it's the Columbus, Georgia TV market, but yes, Auburn, Alabama.
The first time Florida played Auburn, too, remember, Elijah Martin was not there because he had suffered an injury, and then Michael Handlogton obviously hadn't returned as well. So, Bruce Pearl knows Todd Golden so well. Todd Golden knows Bruce Pearl so well. They don't look forward to this matchup as far as the coach-on-coach stuff that's going on. Florida is practicing currently, by the way, so Gator fans can see all those updates on X from all the different people that you follow.
Yeah, I think what's most interesting for me has been on the betting market on Hard Rock right now. That line has held -2.5 in favor of the Florida Gators, not the team that was number one in the country almost from start to finish of the regular season. Like that for me is what's most interesting, especially given that on the national level, we've seen so many pundits suddenly pull their support from Florida because Florida hasn't been able to start fast. They've been playing with fire in the second half. And so I find it interesting that on the betting market, it's pretty much held firm across the board. And yes, on the money line, perhaps it's a little bit closer at Hard Rock right now. You could get Florida -155, Auburn +130. But still, I think it says something about the confidence in the Gators, and maybe Vegas knows something we don't, that it has held firm.
Well, I do think people, Taylor, realize that Florida has yet to put the type of game that won them the SEC championship and much of the season
together from start to finish.
Right. And this team is one that we've talked about how selfless they are, but they also, like, now that they've had a week off with that depth, like, I feel like they've gotten over their nerves, right? Like against UConn, they were tight. Certainly against Texas Tech, I don't know if they were just tired, if they were, worn out from the emotions of everything that's gone on as well. But I think they've gotten all that out of their system. And so I do think that you're going to see a team that's going to come out firing. The question is, does Auburn have the ability to, in my opinion, does Auburn have the ability to withstand that initial onslaught? Which, like I said, that hasn't happened with Florida since really week 1 or game 1 of the tournament against Norfolk State. Ever since then, they haven't really had that where they laid it on a team early in the first half.
Yeah, and I think that you almost don't give Auburn enough credit, because I remember when Mia was going through some of her keys of here's how you fill out, the little tips of filling out your bracket and things like that. And one of them had something to do with a team that had lost X amount of their
3 of their last 4.
And Auburn did that, obviously. And when you go back and you look at how they were playing in those final games, they were turning over the ball a ton. They weren't getting rebounds. I saw a stat where it was like they were allowing almost 2 points per possession, or it was like 1.5 points per possession or something like that. And all of a sudden they hit the tournament and everything just kind of like flipped. So it will, obviously for them, they want to consistently keep doing that, and defensively what they've been able to do in the tournament. But you also, I'm sure if you're an Auburn fan, you're thinking back at those few final regular season games and being like, please don't start reverting back to that, especially with Florida.
That stat was no team has won the national title after losing 3 of their last 4 in the regular season. Okay. So that's not to say that Auburn couldn't make the national title. It's just if they get past Florida, that's where maybe you want to think twice before you pick the Gators. By the way, fact-checking note, Dawn Staley, 13-3 all-time against Vic Schaefer-led teams. Again, if there's an easy bet that I can give you, and Lord help us, I'm not jinxing it, put your money on Dawn.
Are you cheering for South Carolina?
I am. Yeah, okay. I am.
When you say not jinx it, that's my guess.
Yeah, I am. I think because this, first off, win or lose, I'm already envisioning the Dawn Staley post-game press conference where she's emotional because this has been one of her best coaching jobs. She does not have a future number 1 overall pick like an Asia Wilson or an Aaliyah Boston. She doesn't even have a future number 4 overall pick like Camila Cardoso, who she had a year ago. They don't have a true post. The true post that they had first was suspended, then got hurt, lost her for the season. Chloe Kitts, the Daytona Beach native, has done a great job in really solidifying that front court alongside a couple of freshmen like Joyce Edwards. And so for me, I would be happy for Dawn. Now, do I think South Carolina is one of the 2 best teams in the country and deserves to play for a national title? I don't. But with all due respect to Taylor Dawes, Notre Dame Fighting Irish, I don't know what happened in that locker room over the last few weeks, because I thought that they were one of the best 2 teams in the country, and things
fell apart.
It's evolved to the point that everyone but their superstar, Hannah Hidalgo, is either out of eligibility or is in the transfer portal.
Did you see where Alyssa Lang is spending her honeymoon?
In Tampa.
At the Final Four, the women's basketball tournament. But yeah, when we return, there's an interesting thing that Dave Weidel said about a guy that has certainly been mocked to the Jaguars a lot. I want Jaguars fans, but also our listeners to hear that. You are listening to Helmets and Heels on 1010X on 92.5 FM.
He's 1010XL's best offensive lineman. Whoa. Sorry, 71. For real? Leon Searcy. He's just getting his game back. Afternoons 2 to 4.
Tell me they got that in slow motion.
On 1010XL.
Call 904-500-COOL. Ideal Conditions.
Want to support a locally and veteran-owned company? If you need a new AC, we should be your first and only call. Ideal Conditions keeps you cool. Just ask your AC. Call 904-500-COOL or visit idealconditionsjacks.com.
Call 904-500-COOL.
Honk if you see us. Call for service.
Ideal Conditions.
Idealconditionsjacks.com.
Are you 18 years or older, just got married, just got divorced, or have children? Listen up. Have you done your last will and estate planning? You have questions? Call Matt Hinson with the Hinson Law Firm. Reach him at 527-1700. Office is Jacksonville, Florida. And don't let the state decide your fate.
Jags fans, here's your chance to score a trip to Green Bay for round 1 of draft night. Through the Everbank Draft Night Experience Sweepstakes, one lucky winner and a guest will be there live and in person to see the Jaguars make their first pick. To enter, visit everbank.com/draft by April 4th. That's everbank.com/draft.
No purchase necessary to enter or win. Open to legal residents of the 50 United States and D.C. 18 and older. Entry period from 3/3/25 to 4/4/25. For official rules, prize description, odds of winning, and other details, visit everbank.com/draft. Sponsor and administrator, Everbank N.A.
Open early and open late. Dailies is always there, making things easy for you to cruise in and cruise out. So hit Dailies Cold Case the next time you're craving a cold one. Bud Light by the case, plus plenty of singles to choose from. Corona to the king of beers to Stella or a Natty. They're all cold at Dailies.
David here with Royal Pest Services. Man, don't let your yard be torn up by that heavy aeration machine this spring. Visit RoyalPestServices.com to learn more about our granular aeration. Broadcast throughout the tree and shrubs to break up that compacted soil. Visit RoyalPestServices.com.
The best value for golf in Jacksonville remains Cimarron. Totally reestablished with new tee boxes, improved fairways and greens. Also a brand new restaurant with indoor and outdoor settings and live music. Join the Wild One loyalty program online at Cimarron Golf. When's the last time you played Cimarron? Cimarron Golf Club on 210, the Wild One.
Put the ball in the net with 60 minutes of soccer talk. The Coaches Show presented by Sporting Jacks. Cole Pepper, Sporting Jacks head of soccer Mark Warburton, and Sporting Jacks women's coach Stacey Ballard. Tuesday evenings at 6 on 1010 a.m.
SportsForecaster.com has all the data you need to project tomorrow's winners. Register for free and track the performance of all your favorite players and teams, including all your fantasy team picks and prospects. Sports Forecaster has the most detailed player profiles on the web, precise depth charts, every transaction, every injury, every news update. No ranting or raving, no preening or barstool bluster. At SportsForecaster.com, you get the timely info you need for every game. SportsForecaster.com. Sign up for free today.
Joe C for Preferred Roofing, reminding you your roof is more than just felt and shingles. It's a system that not only keeps your home dry, but also impacts your heating and cooling bills. Preferred Roofing and Construction is a GAF Master Elite Roofing Contractor lauded for having the ability to educate and inform homeowners on their options. Why GAF and Preferred Roofing? They're veteran-owned and operated with ties to Duval for decades. A family business ready to make sure your family has a good roof over its head. Log on, preferredroofingjacks.com.
Looking for an engagement ring in Jacksonville? Here's a pop quiz. Which Jacksonville jeweler cuts out the middleman and guarantees the lowest price on any diamond?
I'm thinking it's...
No, it's Beard's Diamonds. Question 2. Which jeweler in the town center has thousands of designer engagement rings and a multi-million-dollar diamond inventory?
I'm going to say...
No, it's Beard's Diamonds. Question 3. Which jeweler in Jacksonville offers an unbiased diamond education, a lifetime upgrade, and free maintenance for life?
How about
Dude, you should have learned by now it's Beard's Diamonds. Final question. Which jewelry store in Jacksonville hasn't been sold a few times and is currently not owned by a national conglomerate?
Beard's Diamonds?
Ding, ding, ding. Now you're getting it. Beard's Diamonds guarantees a better selection, an unbeatable price, superior warranties with no corporate rule books, no commission salespeople, and no chain store atmosphere. Beard's Diamonds, Jacksonville's jeweler. St. John's Town Center.
David Garrard here. I've had the PRP treatment from Southeast Orthopedic Specialists, and my knees are really doing well. Platelet-rich plasma treatment may be the answer for whatever is hurting you.
Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
My son had a meniscus surgery a couple of years ago. When it's smooth as silk, Dr. Kevin Murphy did it. Was playing tennis in 2 weeks. This is Patrick Malarkey, and I highly recommend
Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
Are you thinking about a pool for your home? Blue Haven Pools is Jacksonville's largest pool builder. They've built pools for over 20,000 satisfied families since 2000. It's never been easier to design the perfect pool for your home, family, and budget. Call Blue Haven Pools today at 904-620-0090 to get a free in-home estimate for your in-ground pool, or visit bluehaven.com. Don't let another summer pass by without a pool. Join thousands of happy Jacksonville pool owners in a Blue Haven pool.
Beat the spring cleaning rush and call our cleaning heroes at Zero Res. This month, get Zero Resified and take 25% off all services. Visit ZeroResJacksonville.com and tell them Hicken or 1010XL sent you.
Zero Res.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
introduced a lot of people to Nico Moon. That's who sings this song. His latest song, this is called I Love This Beach, is out today. I feel like not that many people know about Nico Moon, but he's a really good, like, laid-back island type of vibe, I feel like. He's technically country, but I wouldn't put him in that category.
What is his, like, really pop? Like, what would you say is his most popular song? Because there's one that I remember that
Good time. We're just trying to catch a good time.
Yeah, we play that one, I feel like.
Yeah, I like that one.
From time to time, yeah, really
I did,
good.
real quick, I wanted to do a quick Feel Good Friday and a shout out. So my brother, I've talked on here before, the brother that plays baseball, he's out in Australia. He's been out there. He's about to get transferred somewhat like Portugal or something soon.
Ooh,
but
go visit.
Yeah. But he got the Spencer Steven Award, which is the best pitcher with like the all-time best pitcher of the league out there in Australia for this last season. So I wanted to say congrats to him because he's worked really hard. He had a multiple shoulder surgeries, and he's done a lot of rehab, a lot of physical therapy, was coaching for a while, didn't think he was going to be able to pitch, and now he's back out there doing his thing, so it's really fun to watch.
Also, Portugal is not a bad consolation prize for a next locale. It's my favorite country to visit in Europe, so I'm very jealous of that as well.
My mom went to Spain and Portugal on a 2-week trip a few years ago, and she raved, both places she raved about. But yeah, I know also Portugal has some really good surfing, which I didn't know. All right, so for all of you Jaguars fans out there, go watch The Hunt if you haven't watched it already. It's 36 minutes, totally worth your time. One quick anecdote about it. It shows Tony Baselli in their brand new house, and Angie, his wife, is cooking. And, you know, Brian loves to cook. And so as she's going through her steps, he was like, oh, she's doing it right. And he's like, that's the enchilada sauce that I use, too. I was like, okay, so Angie gets props from at least Chef B.
Yeah, because Baselli was like, why are you putting it at the bottom of the pan? I was like, you can tell Baselli's not in the kitchen very often.
Right, when you're making enchiladas, you want to do layers of the sauce there, Tony. I at least know that. All right, so last night on Rick Ballou's show Into the Night with Rick Ballou, Dave Weidel had some interesting comments on a guy that's been mocked the Jaguars heavily, and that is Mason Graham.
Do not take Mason Graham.
Do not take Mason Graham.
I'd love to see Travis Hunter there, not for the reasons of the Jaguars need a player like Travis Hunter with the swagger. No. We need guys that can play football. And I'll say this: I watched a highlight film of Will Campbell today, the LSU lineman that seems to be able to play almost any position. Doesn't have the length that they talked about, long arms like I probably had, or Ben Coleman or Baselli did, but he can play football. Mason Graham had 2 outstanding games this year, had issues throughout his most important collegiate football season, and I would never risk a 5th pick overall on a player like Mason Graham.
Wow.
Even though we could use the help at interior defensive line.
What were the issues his junior year? I've never heard of what issues there were outside of the fact that Michigan lost a record 15 players to the NFL draft, and lost their head coach because he went to the Chargers. What were these issues? I want to know more about the issues.
Yeah, I do not know. I will try and find if there's anything, but I do. 95% of people that I've talked to are very, very, very high on Mason Graham and consider him, most say they're third in their full-on just draft board. I've talked to a few, though, and John Ledyard being one of those, that is not a fan of Mason Graham. And he went into more detail about it. I can probably find the clip on a later show or later in this show. And he went into a little detail of why he's not a big fan of Mason Graham either. So that small 5% of people just see something, and there's always that. There's always going to be those few people that just don't absolutely love the tape, or maybe they just don't think as high of them. But 95% of people really like Mason Graham. And I think that when you talk about the Jaguars' needs, and we can go back and forth all the time of which of these holes are most important and if you can wait on certain position groups for later and which ones you can't. But it is interesting, and I mean, you take it into account, former players, anytime they do have any evaluation of that. And I know Daniel Griffiths, who we've had on this show a few times, did the breakdown of Mason Graham, that defensive tackle position compared to all of the defensive tackles in this draft. And he's 5th in stops, 10th in pressures, 5th in pass rush win rate, 1st in run defense grade, and 2nd in run stop percentage. So he's in top 10 in pretty much every category category you're looking at in this draft of defensive tackles.
Yeah, for people who don't remember Dave Weidel, he played for the Cowboys, the Broncos, the Falcons, and of course your Jacksonville Jaguars as an offensive lineman. I haven't heard about issues other than the buzzword if Trent Baalke was still the general manager, those short arms.
I'm like fascinated. I want to know what, is it tackling, coming off blocks? Is it like, Dave, if you're listening and you want to call in, please do, because I just want to know what was wrong with the tape. If anything, I thought Mason Graham was the reason that Michigan had some semblance of a defense in the early goings of last year, especially when Will Johnson was banged up by injury. I hope we're not confusing the corner for the defensive tackle out here, because that's the player who missed significant time, and there's questions to be answered, especially because of his team and their decisions regarding he's not going to test, he's not going to do this, he's not going to do that.
Yeah, I do find it fascinating. And I do, like we started the show with talking about a scenario in which the Jaguars could certainly draft Mason Graham at 5 if Ward, Hunter, Carter, and Campbell are all off the board. And I went in the direction of a running back with Ashton Genty when I did a mock draft last night. But certainly Mason Graham, there's a reason he's been the most mocked to the Jaguars player of anyone of all of these mock drafts. And the reason is it fills a need, but also people do believe that he's intangibly rich, which fits this group. And also because the Jaguars are going to build in the trenches. They have told us that. And so far, everything the new regime has told us, they have followed up with actually doing. Speaking of Travis Hunter, any other news when it comes to the Colorado Pro Day?
Yeah, I know Shiloh Sanders just ran, and I didn't get his official time yet. Let me pull it up because he had just literally run. I saw. Coach Prime was running around saying what he thought the score was. A 4.52 for Shiloh. Again, Travis Hunter and Shedeur Sanders will not participate in any of the measurement testing, they're going to do the testing for the measurements, but they're not going to do any of the testing. They're just going to do on-field workouts. And Travis Hunter will run routes. So that is certainly something to look at. The Browns, according to Albert Breer of Sports Illustrated, they have owner Jimmy Haslam, head coach Kevin Stefanski, GM Andrew Berry, both assistant GMs, EVP, OC, quarterbacks coach at Colorado's Pro Day, and they took both Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter to dinner last night.
Interesting. I had seen that the Titans were the one team that couldn't make it to the Pro Day on time, but it seems like most of them were able to make it, and that's, of course, because of weather.
And, of course, the Giants have a very large contingent as well. Both Brian Daboll and Joe Shane are both there. And it's, it's the show. It's indoors, so even if it's snowing, at least they, I guess it's kind of, not that you don't want to. I would love to see them actually do the testing in the snow to showcase hey, I'll play anywhere, and that would really be a prime. I feel display.
Yeah,
prime time.
Prime.
Right. Exactly.
It's definitely memorable.
Right, exactly. So yeah, I don't know. I the whole thing is very fascinating to me. This bringing everybody and their mother to Coral Gables to see Cam Moore, bringing everybody and their mother to Cleveland,
everyone pack
to Colorado,
up the car,
right? And there's part of me that almost looks at this, and especially after yesterday's conversation where we talked about how we don't know what James Gladstone and the scouting department what the approach is going to be. Mm-hmm. Is it going to be like the Rams where they have these shadow agents, if you may, that are going out and doing these individual meetings and workouts, and they don't publicize it? There's no top 30 visits. I am genuinely curious, and hopefully the Jaguars aren't picking one of these, top tier, top 5 draft picks again. Hopefully they're not picking in the top 5, so we don't have to see the circus potentially going from site to site. But I am fascinated, and I almost like the Rams' approach of just flying under the radar a little bit more.
Yeah, it is interesting, as we were talking to Corey earlier on the Browns and the thoughts of looking like Travis Hunter, and obviously them seeing him as a wide receiver too. That's been the topic of which is he going to play. Is he going to play both? Sounds like it's going to lean that way if he goes to Cleveland. But then when it comes to the New York Giants, it's just going to be such an interesting situation to see what they actually end up doing. And I saw a tweet. I read this to Mia earlier. Brett Coleman posted it, and he was like, a cautionary tale of taking QB2 and QB3 early on in a down year for that position just because you're desperate. And so it goes back to the draft, the Cam Newton draft, because the next 2 quarterbacks drafted after that at 8 and 10 was Jake Locker and Blaine Gabbert. So as you're looking at that, you're like, oh, be careful.
Yeah, look, we have joked so many times about, Shedeur and certainly Jackson Dart need to be taken really high ahead of the Jags pick at 5. But these teams, they know how to evaluate. Well, okay, let me rephrase. These teams think they know how to evaluate the quarterbacks, and they don't believe that Shedeur is worth a pick, at least in my estimation where we sit now. They don't believe Shedeur is worth the 2nd overall pick or the 3rd overall pick. And they'd rather take their chances, I think, on a guy that they can get later or in a later round. Like Corey said, Corey Kinnan, in case you missed it, he covers the Browns up in Cleveland. He also covers the draft. Talking about getting maybe a Jalen Milroe.
Yeah.
And I saw today the Steelers, one of their top 30 visits is Jackson Dart. So he talked about getting Jackson Dart later, and it's like, I don't know that Jackson Dart's going to be available in the second round.
Too much later. New Orleans Saints at number 9.
Yeah. Exactly. But I do think it wouldn't surprise me if we saw a couple quarterbacks taken in the 20s or early 30s.
Yeah. And that's what it's...
Well, not early 30s because that's going to be the Chiefs and the Eagles. So not those two teams.
Well, and that's you also, to your point, when we're talking about, we joke about get all the quarterbacks in those top 4. If obviously very hypothetical, if it was the Jags picking at that 2, 3, or 4, and these are your choices of quarterbacks, how pushy would you want to be for one? I think the majority of people would be like, we don't want one of these guys. Like, you would have hoped that they did something where they get one of these, a Russell Wilson or somebody like that to get you through a couple years and then look at the next quarterback drafts coming out. I truly feel like the majority of Jacksonville would feel like that. So I would have to think that the majority of these fan bases feel the same way.
For as much as we crucified the Tennessee Titans at times for drafting Will Levis, at least they didn't trade back into the first round for him.
Oh, yeah.
Think of it that way, folks. And that's why if you are unsure and you say, am I taking a quarterback just to take a quarterback? Then that should give you enough pause to say, let's not give up additional capital to go get someone who we don't even know if they could be a starter in the National Football League.
And what's crazy is we don't know about any of these guys.
No, they're all dart throws, yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to knock Trevor Lawrence, but we were told Trevor Lawrence was the most NFL-ready quarterback, right? And that has not been the case. In the end, it's Jaden Daniels who has been the most NFL-ready quarterback, it seems like, of most guys we've seen. And I guess you could point to C.J. Stroud in Houston, but because his rookie year, he was sensational. But he did regress. We'll see what happens with Jaden. But most of these guys, they're not going to work out right away. It takes a little while, and we're still waiting here.
Was Will Levis the one, too, that he was like, he was invited and he ended up not getting drafted in the first round, so he was sitting there and it was kind of sad?
Yes.
Okay.
And if I'm Shedeur, I'm not going to the draft.
Oh, yeah.
Well, they're only going to have 8 people, I think. Like, they're actually cutting down in general on the number of NFL draft invitees.
I guess Green Bay doesn't want to host that many sad people.
It's a tough flight.
Which, real quick, that was funny in the hunt, too, when Campanelli, Coach Camp, he was talking about, he was like, oh, it's so sunny. It's nice to see the sun again. I'm like, he's so happy to be out of Wisconsin.
Until the Jags go to London, and he's going to be like, dang it, I don't love it here. All right, we've got more to do. 1 segment to go. You are listening to Helmets and Heels on 1010X on 92.5 FM.
Caesar is pleased to bring you the only undefeated champion in Roman history, the legendary
1010XL.
Value or flavor? Price or taste? Why choose when you can get both with everyday deals at Sonny's? Right now, you can get the pork big deal for $10, the pork and rib combo for $12, and all you can eat ribs for just $19.99. Yep, you heard right. All your favorites are now available all day, every day. And that's why it's always Sonny's here. Sonny's Barbecue. Local pitmasters since '68.
Jumbo Shrimp Baseball is home this weekend at the newly renovated Five-Star Ballpark. Join us tonight for fireworks and tomorrow at 6:35 for more fireworks. Presented by Oaks RV Resort. Catch on the field and free face painting before the game on Baptist Health Sunday Family Fun Day at 3:05. Tickets start at just $5. JackShrimp.com for tickets. Jumbo Shrimp Baseball. Affordable family fun.
Welcome back, everybody. Okay, I'm thinking of a number between 1 and 10. Charles.
6. Oh, so close. Betty for the steal.
What about the bank that helps you reach your financial goals? Synovus.
Let's see, judges. Yes, Looks like we have a winner. That's a number? Sorry, Charlie. Remember, a solid financial future doesn't happen by chance. Talk with Synovus about your potential today. Brought to you by Synovus Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender. The number was 4.
If you're heading to the Og or you're already part of the nation's oldest, don't forget to drop into Sunset Grill. For over 30 years, serving up great chowder, seafood, wings, and cold beer. Sunset Grill, somewhere on A1A, St. Augustine Beach.
This is Greg Huntington, a.k.a. The Mangler. I'm on the winning team at Waste Management. WM is the largest sustainability company in North America. If your business needs sustainable environmental services for waste removal and recycling collection, then you can count on the industry leader of WM to deliver results. Your services will be completed in a timely, safe, and eco-friendly manner. Go to WM.com/Duval. That's WM.com/Duval and get signed up today. If anyone can talk trash, it's the Mangler.
A combination of peacefulness and electric energy. Look at this. Masters updates on 1010XL are gripped by TopDressing.com and St. John's Middle School Athletic Association.
$5,000. That's the average amount of money people in the U.S. are now spending on gas in a year. $5,000. That's crazy. If you drive, you have to download Upside, the free app that gives you cash back every time you get gas. That's right. You can earn real cash back with Upside just by buying the gas you're already buying. You can literally start earning cash back today.
I use Upside every time I fill up, and I've already made around $200-$300.
You're putting gas in your car anyway. Why not get real cash back? If you like free money, download Upside.
I'm saving the cash I earn from using Upside to help pay for a vacation later this year.
Download the free Upside app now to earn cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code REDEEM to get an extra 25 cents per gallon on your first tank. You can cash out anytime right to your bank, PayPal, or a gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code REDEEM for a 25 cents per gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code REDEEM for a 25 cents per gallon bonus.
If you are an experienced electrician looking for your next big opportunity, look no further than the Miller Electric Company, a trusted name in the industry for over 96 years. At Miller Electric, we tackle the biggest projects in the city, offering you the chance to showcase your skills on a grand scale. We believe in rewarding hard work with the best pay, top-notch benefits, and an unbeatable culture where people actually care about each other. Take your career to new heights with Miller Electric Company. Apply today at millercareers.com. Miller Electric, an equal opportunity employer.
Looking for comfort with who you work with? Remember, Florida Home AC only hires the best. Background checks and drug screenings for all their technicians, so you can be confident when you choose Florida Home AC. Exceptional service is their guarantee at Florida Home AC.
Hey everybody, Jennifer Marion with Randy Marion Cadillac in Jacksonville here to say hello, and we'd sure like to have your business.
You know what? They're going to love the king of price.
My dad believes in making great deals and having a great selection in stock.
Cadillac XT4s, XT5s, and XT6s, and Escalades.
The all-electric Cadillac Lyriq.
CT4s and CT5s.
Cadillac luxury and selection is just waiting for you.
At Randy Marion Cadillac, Southside Boulevard, Jacksonville.
And don't forget, tell them Jennifer sent ya.
I'm with Greg from Cycles of Jacksonville, and there's so many cool products that are on the line at Cycles of Jacksonville. The showroom is Atlantic and Regency, and we're talking, Greg, you've got from any level of price point, the experienced rider to the inexperienced on-road, off-road.
We've got it. We've got ATVs. We've got motorcycles. We've got scooters. We even have the new Honda boats. We've got something for everyone.
Don't forget about the boat line from Honda. It's all right there, waiting for you. Atlantic and Regency or Cycles of Jacksonville's Facebook page.
Pick it here for About 9 Associates, where you'll find Jacksonville's most esteemed eye doctors at each of their locations. After being selected for one of the most competitive ophthalmology fellowships in the world, Dr. Frank Bowden is frequently called upon for his expert opinion. He is currently one of the few cornea and external disease specialists in the area and the founder of About 9. Visit About 9 Associates today and experience the difference. About 9 Associates, keeping the first coast focused.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Now, the cool down from the cool guys at Donovan Air Electric and Plumbing. Fast, reliable, and honest service since '87.
Here's one headline I'm just seeing now, and I wonder if it was taken out of context or this is from NFL.com. Jaguars coach Liam Cohen diving into Trevor Lawrence's footwork to aid quarterbacks' mechanics. Evidently, Liam Cohen on SiriusXM earlier this week. Everything with the quarterback position, so much is built on the lower half of the mind. We're diving into his footwork. Those are the things that we can truly control. The stroke is the stroke. That's how we look at it. We're not going to touch that. We are diving into his footwork and some of those mechanics.
Liam, feel free to join Helmets and Heels anytime you would like.
Interesting.
Absolutely. Wife Ashley also welcome to join us anytime she would like. But yeah, I do think, obviously the national shows are going to get those kinds of questions immediately out to these guys. Not the hunt. They're not going to be like, all right, Liam, what do you think of Trevor Lawrence's mechanics?
No, I think this interview, I think it was on Monday at the owners' meetings. That's why I'm surprised that we
didn't hear sooner.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, I think that when you talk about, and I've heard several of the coaches when we talk about these new offensive minds, and Liam Cohen, Ben Johnson being those guys, and being very vocal about the importance of the footwork and being perfectionists in certain areas, and things that I don't think we're so focused on here, or I know we're not so focused on here in Jacksonville the last few years, and both of them are so articulate with everything they do that, receivers have to be in this spot in this many steps at this, in this many seconds, and the quarterback has to do this, this, and this. And I think that is going to be very beneficial for Trevor, because I do think that there were at the end of 22 when we were seeing the best Trevor. Yeah, some of the time it was like go out there and just be that gunslinger, but a lot of the time it was Trevor was so comfortable in what he was doing, you could tell every single thing was planned. And when, granted, some of that's the line's been bad, so you can't really plan things when you're getting hit in 1.5, 2 seconds. But I do think that has the relationship between Liam Cohen and him, just like Liam Cohen and Baker, you start to perfect all of those little things, and once those things are perfected, you can get out of your head. And I think both of those guys were in their head for a long time.
I think a quarterback's most comfortable when, and you can see this, when they have guys over the middle of the field that they feel confident are going to catch the football, right? Like those contested areas, that's where if a quarterback doesn't put the ball in the exact right spot, that can lead to an interception, right? There's a lot of guys in the middle of the field. And so in 2022, Trevor knew that his guys over the middle of the field were going to catch the football, and they had such chemistry at that point in time. And that's why it's fascinating to see what they're doing as far as Liam Cohen and James Gladstone and Tony Basilli with this offense moving forward. Because Trevor, outside of Brian Thomas Jr. and Parker Washington, a little bit of Britton Strange, maybe, but not really. Like, he doesn't have the same reps with those guys on a football field when it matters.
Well, he's got Travis Etienne and Tank Bigsby as well, and I would think that you'll see a little bit more of those guys in the receiving game. Again, if there is to be some notion of wing T offense, some modern day callbacks to it in Liam Cohen's offense here in Jacksonville. So I don't want to say the cupboard is too bare, but I think that, again, there's a lot of people on the internet right now since that clip just got posted, and they're questioning. They're saying, okay, why is this happening now? And I think that, again, for me, I could have sworn that 3 years ago, Doug Peterson, yes, took on a job where so much of it, the buzzword was healing from an emotional and mental standpoint, maybe not a healing from a, hey, let's also teach the fundamentals and the basics. And then that was a critique in the second half of 2023 and certainly through 2024 that we heard even through the locker room. We heard players say, like, all of a sudden now we're talking about fundamentals, which Coach Campo has certainly pushed back on and has said that's what you do when you're struggling. You go back to those basics. But now, I question in that scenario, why weren't the basics being taught early on? So I'm okay if the Jaguars' new front office, new regime comes in and they say, hey, we're starting from the ground floor, which was another quote that was mentioned in the hunt last night.
Yeah, to me, it goes back to the conversations of when Trevor was getting drafted, and everybody was saying this is the most NFL-ready quarterback we've had in a really long time. He's elite, he's generational, all of these words, and obviously that kind of backtracked with the urban year. And then I've made this comment a lot that I truly think Doug Peterson came here thinking it was going to be an easy job. He came here not thinking he was going to have to work on mechanics and go back to basics and work on all of those little things. But unfortunately, because of his rookie season, you needed to. And they got away with it in 2022 because of some of that magic we talked about yesterday and things going right. And they had that burst at the end. But I do think that during that time, he still probably needed those things. And it was just avoided because they were winning. So you weren't focusing on it. And then it all caught up that next year. And by that point, I don't think that is something that Doug Peterson wanted to do. I don't think he came here to be this guy to build and have to start from the top with the quarterback. He was coming here to have somebody who he thought was made, and he was just going to be able to go and win.
He also hired, in my opinion, poor coordinators.
Yeah.
Like Press Taylor at the beginning, I think did a good job, but then didn't tend to adjust or seem to adjust. And then defensively, between Mike Caldwell and Ryan Nielsen, neither of those guys were successful in any way, shape, or form. And so a lot of times when we look at the totality of what's happened in that Doug Peterson era, we look at it, as far as what Trent Baalke did wrong, what Doug Peterson did wrong. There's a lot of other people to blame. I mean, you've reported on it, Mia, as far as the defense and what, the glaring weaknesses that were happening in meeting rooms and on the field and the lack of coaching. And so
People not showing up for work.
Exactly. Like there are so many different issues there for sure. All right, time now for the Terminix Pest of the Day. As always, our friends at Terminix handle the pest control at my house as well as Everbank Stadium, VyStar Ballpark, VyStar Veterans Memorial Arena. So many event venues around town. There's a reason for that. That's because they're so good at what they do. Visit TERMINIX.com. RJ, this one's for you. Not specifically the Lakers, but in the world of the NBA. Ja Morant, literally hours before the game last night, is told to stop doing the finger gun gestures, which we already know he's had some other issues in the past when it comes to guns. So, A, just don't do that. But B, the NBA literally warned him hours before the game last night, and then he did it twice in the game. And so against the Miami Heat, and so he was fined $75,000. It doesn't seem to be something that you should have to even tell someone, in my opinion. Like, you already know the NFL doesn't want people to do it. The NBA told you not to do it, so don't do it. It's not that hard.
I saw something with him the other day because he made some comment about, like, the hard times got him here or something. And someone quote tweeted, was like, you went to private school.
Hey, private school's hard, okay? It makes you work really hard.
Yeah,
that is amazing.
There are odds out there. A couple different, I saw across the board in Vegas. There's like already odds out there for
his next team.
What is that? Sure. Do you know what the leader was?
I didn't see it. But.
Yeah, it sucks because RJ, you and I have had this conversation about Ja before because of like who is that next face when you talk about the next face of the NBA and who that can be. And it could have been Ja. Like, he had that personality, but unfortunately, he's just done all of these crazy things, and it's like eliminated him from people. When you want that guy who has the personality, but you also want the guy that's not consistently getting in trouble and can't play because he's getting suspended or whatever the case may be.
Yeah, I just mentioned VyStar Ballpark. People are craving these chili dogs that we discussed and the change up. So to remind everyone where they find them, you actually go downstairs under the main concourse.
Yes. So
to the church.
That's why I love my friends, because one of my friends texted me and he goes, "What serious question? I'm going to the shrimp game tonight. Where was that chili cheese dog at?" And so yes, it's near like that side gate across from VyStar. If you enter the arena, that on that side in the VyStar Veterans Memorial Arena, there's a little kind of tucked away one right when you walk in to the right. And that is where the change-up dog is, but that is also where the chili cheese dog is. So they also have, if you're not a meat eater, they have an impossible dog over there too.
Which is good, because today is Friday and it's during Lent. Quick baseball notes. Florida plays host to number 16 Vanderbilt. So the schedule doesn't get any easier for those Florida Gators. You can hear that 3-game series on 1010XL beginning tonight with first pitch at 6:30. Of course, you'll be able to hear tomorrow night's men's basketball game on our air as well, 1010 AM and 92.5 FM. Number 6, FSU plays host to Wake Forest. First pitch tonight, 8 o'clock. UNF plays host to West Georgia. So if you want to go see some local baseball, get out to Harmon Stadium. First pitch tonight, 6:30. And JU travels to Florida Gulf Coast with the first pitch at 6:30. All right, so to circle back to our conversation at the very top, if the Jaguars did take Ashton Genty, the running back, at number 5, if that's the selection that they made, you would be thumbs up or thumbs down? Love it or hate it?
I'm fine with it. And I said this last week. I think it was last week. I don't know if there's a player that would go at 5 that I'd be sad about. Like, I would be fine with Will Campbell. I would be fine with Mason Graham. I would be fine with Travis Hunter. I'd be fine with Abdul Carter. I'd be fine with Ashton Genty. Armand Mimbo, and I know that somebody on the text line said that because you want to address the offensive line. That's probably the one I would question the most because, to me, Unless you're planning on moving Anton to left tackle and you're going to play, because he's a right tackle. That is, he hasn't played a single snap of anything else. That is what he is. So if you're drafting him to be your right tackle. And then in that case, to me, you'd be moving Anton to left. So if there's something like that, but to me, that's the one that maybe I'd have a little hesitation on. I'd want to know their plan. But there's several. I think that because there's so many holes and things to fix, and I like a lot of these players and for different reasons, I wouldn't be mad of any of those.
L for me, just because I think this is the deepest running back class we've seen in quite some time. And as much as Ashton Genty, yes, is a quote-unquote generational prospect, I think that you can find value later in the draft. And additionally, and I'm writing this right now for my mock draft for Monday, I won't give away the running back I have the Jaguars selecting on day 3, but certainly another workhorse, much like Genty was. And this idea of, well, are you Kyron Williams, who, yes, only played 3 seasons at Notre Dame, but had 2,000-yard seasons and was the lead dog? Mm-hmm. And so maybe there's more tread on your tires, but you still are able to carve out a successful NFL career where you get to a second contract because, by all accounts, Les Snead said they're working towards that in Los Angeles. And so you are able to say there's still more there. Or are you James Robinson, where ultimately he was run into the ground at Illinois State, for better or worse. He was their entire offense, gets to the league, has injuries. Obviously, the series of events between Urban Meyer and then the knee and then the everything, the heel, everything, the Achilles, one after the other, I don't think anyone could have foreseen. But point is, I have concerns about any of these guys who have a ton of tread on the tires because they've been the bell cow at their collegiate program, whether that's Ashton Genty or any other number of names.
And we're not going to spoil it, but you do have an offensive player that the Jaguars take with that 5th pick overall. So we'll find out who that is on Monday. Make everybody wait until then. For now,
Jackson Dart.
Yeah.
For now, that would stir things up. Let's say hello to Matt Hayes.
Now, the 2-minute drill. Serviced by Cool Cats Heating and Cooling. Locally owned and operated. We're your neighbors. CoolCatsJacks.com.
The coolest cats in town.
Taylor's excited about her Cubs playing at 2 p.m. today. She's wearing a Cubs shirt. Matt Hayes is excited about the Gators gymnastics team tonight and the men's basketball team tomorrow night.
He's wearing
orange and blue. That's right, orange and blue. And it's the correct blue because obviously Auburn is orange and navy blue.
There's a little peach right there in that
yes,
Columbia.
that is
logo.
orange and blue, Matt.
I'm excited because I just saw a takedown on the corner of Hogan and Southside.
Saw a takedown.
Oh, yeah, 2 cops and a guy, and yeah, it was pretty good.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right. Happy Friday.
Yeah.
It's a way to start the day.
Another afternoon in Jacksonville, baby.
Only in Duval. Get your popcorn. Did you watch The Hunt, Matt?
I did not, no.
Okay. Well, I'll switch
was
questions.
it good?
It was excellent. Highly recommend the 36 minutes. Switch questions. If the Jaguars took Ashton Genty at 5, how would you respond?
I wouldn't be happy. I mean, I get it. You know, you're trying to get weapons around your quarterback, but I think you need to protect them first and then move on to the weapons. Or hope the weapons that you have, that you've spent capital on, draft capital on, are actually worth it, or actually develop into something. You know, it's a lot like the Mason Graham at 5. If you take Mason Graham at 5, you're essentially saying what you took the second-round pick last year was a mistake. Mm-hmm. So you blew that pick. So
or
now
you
you're
don't
wasting.
like Eric Armstead.
Right. Well, or you're not wasting that 5 on an interior defensive line. Now, I know a lot of people say, well, you should have 3 or 4 or 5 interior defensive linemen you have to rotate. That's fine. I understand all that. But the reality is, if Mason Smith was a guy who played last year and played well, you are not picking Mason Graham at 5. You're just not.
Even though he's best player available.
Right. You take the next. At that point, you're like, all right, well then maybe we do X or maybe we do Y.
You're going to be mad if they take anyone other than an offensive line.
I will. Yeah.
And that's what,
I admit it. I don't know what else to say. I will.
Let me ask you.
I got news. If I was Trevor, I'd be mad too if they didn't take an offensive lineman.
Yeah. Can you guys think about me a little bit, please? I've had the conversation the last couple weeks, Matt, that I think I would argue that the line's worse than what it left with at the end of the last season. But I want to ask you real quick because we had Corey Kennan on, and he works for the Browns Wire, and we were trying to get this idea of, we're going through this series of what's going to happen in those 4 picks before the Jags to see maybe who's going to be there at 5. He says Travis Hunter seems like that is what the Browns, the vibe, everything going there. He also said that it seems like they are also leaning him as drafting him as a wide receiver. How do you feel about that?
Who's throwing the ball?
That's what he literally says. You need the quarterback to do it. And I was like, well, that's
at some point they got to
Kenny Pickett and Deshaun Watson as their quarterback room right now.
If you have Haslam admitting last week that they made a mistake in signing Deshaun Watson, who's throwing him the ball? I still think that's a smoke show. I think they're picking quarterback. I do.
Okay.
Really? You do?
Corey said he likes Jalen Milroe. getting a guy like that later.
I like Jalen as a college player, but he's so raw as a thrower. So raw. I mean, later, like as in 7th round and hoping he pans out. Yeah, I guess.
Sure. What's coming up?
We'll talk Jags in the draft and the Final Four, the Gators. We're now a day away.
Day away.
T-minus 28 hours and counting. Big game.
I have an NCAA regionals gymnastics meet at 8 p.m. tonight. I've got plenty to do and focus on and worry about before tomorrow night. Mia's Iowa's Hawkeyes are also in a meet at 2 p.m.
Do you go double deodorant?
Double deodorant.
That's why I watch games
in these
at home.
times like this.
That's why I watch meets and games at home. All right, thanks, Matt.
Because I know that some women use like men's deodorant because they sweat so much.
I do.
You know?
I think a lot of women use men's deodorant.
Really?
And razors. Men's stuff is better.
And razors?
Yeah.
Wait.
Men's razors are better. Men's deodorant's better. They don't care about us women.
How can men's razors be better? Like it's
If they're
harder.
doing the throwaway types, for sure. Especially like the cheap little like throwaway.
Isn't it more difficult to like shave legs than shave face?
Gracious. We gotta go.
All right.
I don't want to end things like
a
the
conversation
drill
for
and
next
We're getting into this on prime time. I can tell you that.
There you go. They'll talk
We'll
about
come
it.
back on. Just let me know.
All right, that'll do it for us. These heels are made for talking. We will talk to you on Monday. For Mia O'Brien, for Taylor Dahl, for RJ Saunders, I'm Lauren Brooks. Everybody enjoy your weekend, but don't go anywhere. XL Prime.